Learn Maintenance, Section 7, Mainboard Disconnection, Chip Drop Point. Several methods for repairing plate layer dropouts. Take a look at the main board. Drop points after a heavy fall. This machine is repaired for the second time. Fix the main board first. It doesn't shake as it flies. You can see it under the microscope. There are many kinds of drop points. There are pads on the lower layer. There is no pad on the lower layer. There are pads on the side. There are pads like this that break the wire to the disc. And after the second repair, the surface was dug up. The second layer is disconnected. The third layer is disconnected. These will be repaired later. And there are things like these that don't have pads on the periphery. In the center, this is usually done without flying line. The first thing is to just dig this one out of the surface. Tinned. It can be used normally. There's no need for points like this to fly lines. Just dig it out. These points are also, but it made a mistake while digging. Put the useful point and the GND point on the edge. Then this point will short circuit. If you zoom in, you can see it. Although there are points here, but this one must be isolated. Here too. This point is also a mistake during operation. Shows up at points on the side that shouldn't be there. And again, the dots that the flywire fixes. The repair of the flying line to these points, like this route, is in this area. Then if you want to fly the line, just fly it out directly. But if the flying line flies on the surface layer, it will be high. My personal approach. This operation is not good or bad. I usually remove the surface layer. A layer on the surface is cut off. Then dig this pad of it to the largest area. Dig the largest area to make the fixed line more stable. That's it. If the top half, this lower level, is not deep enough, I will also make additional fixes to it to make this thread fly well, and the surface of the PCB is flat. This is my method. Other methods can also be used. Each approach has advantages and disadvantages. What about this method? It's just a waste of time in the process of flying the line. Fly first with this line that is flat on the surface before the fly line. To dig out the pad, tin treatment. When applying tin, don't apply too much. Too many if the line is dangling. Then in the subsequent repair process, will cause this thread to detach from the tin pulp. If you only need to connect a horizontal line, then just cut the short line. That's it. But many people will think, this horizontal line is not strong. It's not true. Whether it is a horizontal line or a circle, it's all the same sturdy. It will be restored later. Then the line used will be longer than the horizontal line, according to the size and size of the pad. To select the length of the line, when welding the thread, press on the PCB board. Let the suction float up. After oiling like this, at high temperatures, there will be no line and PCB desoldering. This one is not long enough. It doesn't go all the way around. If the plate is not full circle, the center should be hollowed out. It is also conducive to the fixing of the next glue. You can use a blade and forceps. Okay, go ahead and circle. What about this kind of circle? It's not dense. If the density is not dense enough, the oil will become particularly strong. If the disc is too dense, its pads, no, it's not stronger than it looks. I will verify it with the actual operation later. If the amount of green oil on it is too much, you can press it with this transparent film. Turn on the light after pressing it. Shine it, and it will be flatter. This thread flying now, it's flat as the surface. This is the first method. Take this bad point as an example. If you don't fly below the plank, dots like this can only fly on the surface. Then its height will exceed the surface layer of the PCB. And usually what I do is I cut the whole line at the same time. Dig this one too, wrap the thread underneath, this way it will be flat. Now it's the surface. Cut a little more line. The length depends on the amount you need to use. Because this circuit is on the surface layer, so it's thicker. You can press it lightly. Make it as flat as possible. In this way, the line will go down a little bit. Okay, this is a surface layer fly line repair. Drying. Just dry the oil with a UV curing lamp. At this time, it can be under the microscope lens. Take a look. This state of surface and internal fly lines. The surface flying wire is as flat as a PCB, upper flying line. Higher than the pad. After the green oil solidifies, but also these copper wires that flew out, scrape off the oil on it to connect well. Here are two ways. And after the middle frame of apple drops a little bit, like these dots, you can see the faint color of copper. Then just dig down the pad and it will come out. When it's more severe, the pad is not there. It doesn't look like there are pads. This one point. When the pads are not on it, digging down will only dig to the ground and won't dig to the real line. Then put a little washing water on this one. Okay, you can't see it when you start the board water. It's this second layer wiring. Which direction are you going? Then you can push it slowly by yourself. You can push in this direction, dig it lightly first. Okay, it's in this direction, then it can only go in this direction. Make slight modifications. The wire of this pad, it is from the second floor of the side. We're going to fly from here. You can see it after cleaning it up. The entire pad is pulled off. The line is at this place. So now fly a little tin over this line. It's very thin at this root. And then this pad is deeper. If you fly with a very thin silver thread, the effect is not as good as the copper wire flying directly. Put it on the fixture so it doesn't shake. If you only fly the horizontal line, cut it a little shorter. And that's it. If you want to choose a disc grain, just a little bit more. If you only choose so little, it is also possible. At this time, there is no need to use very thin wires. Use very thin thread. The pads will be lower than the PCB board, so the copper wire above the tin suction tape is used. Before applying the quick drying oil, any soldering oil stains on the PCB, be sure to clean it up. In this way, the pad will become very strong. When there is a lot of oil, clean up a little again. Excess peripheral high place, scrape off. In this way it is already ready to tin. And during the heavy fall of the machine, not only will these main boards appear drop point, the CPU is the same, there will be drop points. The method of repair is the same. If you go from below, just fly below. If you go from above, just fly above. CPU points are small. You can also fly with this bigger copper wire. You can also fly with thinner silver thread. It's all okay. If you only fly with copper wires, how to fly? Do not fly to find roots on the surface. Dig down the surface layer. This is thick enough to hold the wire that needs to fly. If you feel that the depth is not enough, then its pad comes off. There's also a layer of ink in between the first and second layers, equivalent to boxwood resin glue. The transparent one can be gently dug out. Let its thickness meet the needs. It is also possible. The pad is best dug to the maximum. After digging to the maximum, the flying line will be much more stable. But the relative difficulty will also be higher. Okay, tin. After serving, remove the extra part. Continue to cut the copper wire. The growth space of the copper wire is very large. Even though it looks thick now, the following operations can also make it very thin. Weld the roots first. Okay, root weld on. Clean up after welding. If you want to circle, The length that can be reserved is slightly longer. You don't circle, just reserve this position on the horizontal bar. Broken face with flat forceps. Press the line lightly. Press it, and after pressing, this will be very flat. You can fill it now. Flatten. Turn on the lights. Okay, point drop repair for this CPU has been completed. Then this is pure, not high out of the flying line of the PCB board. Flat as the surface, it will not increase the height of the chip when the leather fits. Then these above, that's basically it. Check it out again. Take this mainboard for example. I've flown 3 wires on this one. Corresponding marks are also made. The first disc is the second horizontal line on the surface. It's on the surface. The third disc is flat as the surface. Under the side, it will be very obvious the difference between these 3 flying lines. The first disc is on the surface. The horizontal line is also on the surface. The third one is as flat as PGB, so in this state, see which one is more suitable. This operation requires the CPU to be installed. Then look at the overall effect on the side. This is Repair Home Lead-Free Halogen-Free Solder Paste. Install CPU. The size points on the CPU are the same. After installing, look at the side. Ah, I got the wrong CPU. Not this one. This one should be installed. When the height of the pad increases and the chip is implanted, when it's as big as a 10 point, will cause it to expand to the side. Under this state, repair short circuits are prone to occur. The more lines you fly, the lower the installation success rate. This can be seen by looking at the side. But it doesn't mean that the line formed by flying on the surface is not good. This line can be formed by flying on the surface. Cut off part of the tin pulp directly. I'll fix the mainboard first. Look at the line in the corresponding opening, 1, 2, 3 in this place. This is the big circle on the surface layer. Horizontal line of surface layer. This is the circle on the lower layer. Let's zoom in. Obviously the circle on the surface. There will be a lot more suction on the side. What about after the extra? It will be very close to the line on the side. The second one also squeezed a little tin pulp, but it's not as big as a full circle. Clean the sides, no. Okay, now you can see the line coiled on the surface. It's already connected to the one on the side. Then you will counterattack. There is also a little connection on the horizontal line. Then the surface layer, the line that flies on the second floor. There is no contact. So if it is flying on the surface layer, the area of tin planting, be sure to try to make it a little less than normal. This will not happen. Remove the CPU, the more drop areas. If they are all uneven, when planting the tin and installing it, it needs to be adjusted repeatedly. Okay, there was a connection here just now because of its thickness. Now, spread out the CPU tin in the lower layer so they're just hugging each other. So when you fly the line, if it flies on the surface, the layer has to suck the chip. It's better to suck it and cut it off. Half. After cutting in half, the success rate of fitting it will be higher. It will take a little longer. Or just choose to fly on the second floor. Parallel to the board layer of the PCB. When the board size of the PCB is selected to be parallel, if the thickness is not enough, the line used is thicker. I just said it. You can use the blade to dig further down. Dig down. Don't dig into the leaking bucket. There will be a short circuit after digging into the leaking bucket. The thinner the dish, the thinner the line to fly. And it's better to fly to the second floor. Do not fly on the surface layer. I really hope to lose some flying lines in this course. Can bring you practical help. Goodbye.